What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I've got for you 3 entitled people stories, and I say entitled people, but actually when you look at the title of the first story I'm narrating today and you see what's going on in it, I'm not actually sure if this is an entitled person or just a downright creep. You'll see what I mean, but you can probably tell from the title of this one it's a little strange and probably a little bit more serious than just an entitled person. But nonetheless, let's get into it. Sit back, relax if you can, try not to get too weirded out by this crazy guy. Subscribe, here we go. Creepy male staff kept invading our privacy on a school trip. I recently went on a residential trip where the arrangement was that girls stayed downstairs while boys stayed upstairs. Female adults usually stayed near the girls' dorms and male adults were with the boys. However, there was a man, let's call him John, who made me feel extremely uncomfortable throughout the trip. John was on the same minibus as me on the way there. I was quiet and reserved because the younger kids were immature, so I kept to myself. When I spoke to the adults, I was calm and polite. Things though changed when we got to the dorms. I was assigned a room with girls my age where I felt more comfortable. John would constantly come into our dorm without knocking, which felt invasive. He would just stand there and ask, "What are you guys doing?" It happened so often that I spoke to a friend about it and she agreed it was weird. What made it worse was how he would single me out. He'd bend down to look at me in my bunk and even found excuses to come into the room, like making jokes about me wanting a cup. The breaking point was when I walked into the dorm one day to find my friend nearly naked with only a towel covering her front while her back was exposed. John had been lingering outside our dorm just moments before. I told her about it, and we decided that I'd guard the door so no men could just walk in. This annoyed me because we shouldn't have to go to such lengths for privacy. On the last night, when we were being loud and having fun, he barged in again without knocking and started talking about reading the Bible to us. One of the girls is Muslim, so we tried to politely tell him that wasn't necessary, but he ignored us. I finally snapped and said, "It's like you're obsessed with our room because you keep coming in without knocking. You don't do this with the boys' rooms." He got defensive and claimed that he already dealt with the boys' noise and accused me of acting out because others were around. He said, "You're normally quiet. Don't give me verbal now." I stood up for myself, saying, "Don't make assumptions about me just because you don't know me. I'm comfortable with these people now, so I'm being myself." He dismissed me, told me to mind my business, and left me feeling shut down and disrespected. Later, he returned while one of the girls was still changing. Instead of apologizing or leaving, he turned around and insisted she was changed enough because she had a bra top on. He stayed in the room to read the Bible despite everyone asking him to leave. This whole experience left me feeling disrespected and uncomfortable. Privacy was completely disregarded, and his behavior crossed so many boundaries. Am I overreacting, or is this as inappropriate as it felt to me? And OP has actually left a couple of edits on the bottom of this one, giving even more context. On the way back home, John made another unsettling comment. He started telling a group of 14-year-olds that someone had once told him they found him attractive. The kids immediately pushed back, saying, "That's a lie. You're 40 and we're children. Nobody would say that." Instead of addressing their discomfort seriously, he laughed it off and said, "I'm married. Why would you say that?" Even though no one had made any such claim about him. Sorry, so he said that one of the group of 14-year-olds had once told him they found him attractive. I mean, first of all, obviously that's not true. Secondly, how weird is that? What a weird thing to say. Here's another edit from OP. During an ice skating session, John would hold the hand of a 15 to 16-year-old girl under the pretext of helping her, even though penguins, the skating aids, were available, and she wasn't even that bad at skating. The girl actually kept trying to distance herself by leaning on the wall and avoiding conversation, but John stayed close, repeatedly talking to her and invading her personal space. Knowing how creepy he'd already been, this behavior didn't feel like innocent help. It felt calculated and unnecessary. What makes it even stranger is that there was a boy around the same age who kept falling repeatedly, even with the help of the penguins. But despite this, John never went over to assist him or offered to hold his hand to guide him. Instead, no, he focused solely on the girl, who was clearly better at ice skating than he was. This discrepancy in his behavior makes his actions towards the girl feel even more unsettling and deliberate. And then finally, OP has added this edit for clarification. When I said lingering behind the door, I didn't mean just walking around or near our door. This guy was right at our door, head on the door, and completely still, almost like he was trying to listen in or spy on us. It wasn't just casual lingering, his whole body was pressed against the door, standing silent. It was way more unsettling than I initially described. I didn't actually use the right words before, but I hope this gives you a better picture of what happened. Oh my goodness me, John is a nonce. Okay, and there we go. Just to answer OP's question of did I overreact? No, and if anything, you didn't react enough, to be honest. Now, I'm trying to work out from this, and OP doesn't explicitly say how old they are. I presume that they are also 15, 16 years old, a 15, 16-year-old girl. I don't know that 100% for sure, though, but that makes the most sense from reading what we just read, right? I think you guys would probably agree with that. Let me know if I've got that wrong. But nonetheless, what I've just read is insane. Like, you've got to go to the authorities or something about this. At the very least, tell a female adult, another member of staff that's on that trip. Like, the cops have to be involved. This is illegal, what's going on here. There are rules in place to stop male teachers, being in private areas for female students, and vice versa as well. I mean, for any teacher, but yeah, I just don't really know what was going on. Where were the female staff in all of this? So weird that a teacher like this, just a predator, let's be honest, is able to do this. And not only when you're away on a school trip, but also just in general life, it seems like, ice skating. So odd. This guy is to be honest, is clearly a nonce. I know that's not a word you use in America, but I don't want to say I mean, you can say pedo, can't you? I'm not going to get demonetized for that. It's just a pedophile. Simple as that. And it's a very disturbing story to start off today's episode, but there we go. That is that for that one. Now for our second story. I know I'm not family anymore, but give me the details for your destination wedding. Welcome to my family drama. So, I'm getting married in April and having a destination wedding in Cyprus. Because we have family all over the world, and some have jobs where they need to close dates like a year in advance, we sent out save the dates as soon as we closed the venue, back in May. One of the people I sent a save the date to is my stepbrother's wife. Then, they started divorce proceedings this summer. Now, I've never liked her. She's actually quite a nasty person, and she only ever speaks to me when she needs something. When I sent out the actual invites, I sent them with the names of all the invitees. So I sent my brother an invite with his name, his stepdaughter, his daughter from a previous marriage who I see as a niece, and their child together. Her name was not on the invite. I knew this meant that it was very likely her children could not come, since they would have to leave the country, and she could prevent that, which I completely understand and is totally in her rights. I understood that when I sent the invites. My stepbrother told me straight away that he and the kids would likely not be able to make it, but he'd let me know if things changed by the time he needed to RSVP. So that was 2 months ago. I've actually not spoken to his wife since long before the divorce proceedings started. Today she texts me, translated. Hi OP, when's the wedding and what hotel are you staying at? Send me those details so I can check the options to come. Now I'm thinking to myself, girl, you aren't family and this is a small destination wedding. What are you thinking? So I called my dad and stepmum to consult how to respond to her. Apparently, my stepmum asked if she could take her son, since my stepbrother can't go, and she wanted him to come to the wedding and see my nibbligs from North America. So my stepsister-in-law started declaring plans already from that request, thinking that entitled her to an invite. I told my stepmum, I can understand her wanting to come if her ex-husband is coming with the kids, but what right does she think she has to come without my actual brother? My stepmom and dad agreed that she's delusional and helped me verbalize a response to her. So I sent to her, hi stepsister-in-law, I sent the invite with all the details to my stepbrother. You can arrange that with him. I figured, okay, she'll understand that the initial invite was to her as my brother's wife, as in it only applies to them as a unit, but no. OP, I don't know if you know, but we aren't together. We're in divorce proceedings. My save the dates, she actually said invite, but she never got an invite, just a save the dates, was deleted. Hence, I've requested the details from you. So this woman, who I have near zero relationship with, who is no longer even speaking to my brother, thinks that she's still invited to my wedding. I spoke with my stepmom again, as she's always been the only one who could match her crazy. She apologised for opening this can of worms and told me she'd speak to her and explain the situation. I just can't imagine what la-la land she's living in, that she thinks if she isn't even speaking to my brother, and he can't even come to my wedding, that she can. Yeah, odd. And I think, to be honest, this woman is just after a free destination. I mean, actually, you've not said that you're paying for the flights, which makes this even more weird. And again, don't know what country this is taking place in, so it might be close to Cyprus, but it seems unlikely. Anyway, so this woman is willing to pay for her flights to Cyprus. Then I suppose, yeah, you get the free wedding, which is always great, but it's strange, again, why you'd even want to be there. Maybe the answer is what you said, she is just in La La Land, but from your stepbrother's point of view, it makes sense as to why he's not with her anymore. She just seems crazy. I'd also love a reply from her to see what she says to this. Like, oh, what? I thought I was invited the whole time. Don't worry, I'm still going to come. Opie's actually said in the comments down below, this isn't even the worst of her. She's just a bit of a sociopath. I mean that in the clinical sense. She lacks empathy and the ability to see beyond herself. She has a habit of abandoning her kids with my parents because they live nearby, and she just can't be bothered with them and finds taking care of them a nuisance. Always good to hear from a parent. Her daughter is old enough that some days after school, she just comes to my parents to avoid being near her. Yeah, that's probably all we need to know about this person. Let's move on. Karen gets upset over first come, first serve at a coffee shop. Ends up getting taken down by a cop. This was about a year ago in the winter, one weekend morning. I was waiting for a haircut appointment, so I walked next door into a popular coffee shop. The place was busy, but not packed all the way. There were 2 people in front of me, and shortly, a few behind me. The person in front of me had an expensive coat, expensive jewellery, and the whole I want to talk to the manager look. She gave her order, which took a while. Something like blah blah latte with 2 pumps of this, a little of that, this type of milk, 1 pump of this, and so on. She was told it may take a few minutes, and she stood by the other 2 or 3 people waiting for her order. She was asked for the name on the cup to be called out, and it was Karen. It was my turn to order. I don't need much to make myself happy. I don't need anything complicated. I can sum up my coffee order in 1 word, large. And sometimes I have to clarify with large and black. Surprisingly, the guy behind the counter repeated my order and somehow was able to turn it into a full paragraph. A large American blah blah with no this, no that, no this, blah blah. Is that simple large coffee? Yes. The guy turned around, took 2 steps to the other counter, fills up a cup, I pay, and hands it to me. All good. I start to walk away with my cup of coffee when I notice the Karen looking at me with a WTF look on her face. I see her take 2 steps to the counter and start the whole, I need to speak with the manager. I stop to look and watch the scene. The argument kind of started with a, where the heck is my latte, and why the heck did the ratty slob behind me get his first? What happened to first come, first serve? The guy behind the counter tried to explain the difference between the orders, but she wasn't having it, and she was getting louder. There was cursing, yelling, and all the fireworks. I see one person who was in the back of the line unzip his coat, revealing a police uniform, making his way up to make his presence known. So you now have a manager behind the counter arguing with Karen, and the cop just steps in. The cop just tries to get a word in by saying that what she was doing was unreasonable, causing a disturbance, and it's best to just calm down. Karen just stopped in shock, realizing that the cop was not on her side. What the heck is wrong with you? I'm a victim here. I paid good money and I wasn't serviced. They should be the ones arrested. Then she started to go from shock back to anger. She said this next part while jabbing her finger in the officer's chest. You need to do, jab, your freaking job, jab. And the officer then grabbed her arm and just did a full takedown. Karen was face first into the floor screaming. The officer was reading the Miranda rights. You're under arrest for assaulting a police officer, disorderly conduct, etc. Another cop came into the store when he heard the yelling to help out. I did ask if they need me to make a statement or something, but they said they have enough. I just left and I didn't follow up. Okay, comments down below, guys. I wanted to do this story last because I don't think it's real, but I'm interested. As I do this sometimes. You would know this if you've been around for a while on the channel. Sometimes I read stories out which I'm just not sure if they're real or not, because it kind of leads into the whole topic of Reddit and these sort of posts in general. I would like to believe that the vast majority of things I read are real and did actually happen. Maybe they're slightly embellished sometimes, sure, but on the whole, they're pretty real. But then I read something like this, I'm just like, I just do not think this is real at all. And it does make me think, is everything I read actually fake or not? So firstly, get in the comments down below, do you think what I've just read is real? Did it actually happen? Secondly, what do you think about Reddit as a whole and the other two stories in this episode, for example? Do you think they're real, completely, 100%, maybe slightly embellished, or just made up like this one probably is? Interested as always to hear your thoughts, but that is going to do it for this one. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.